In the remote, fog-draped mountains of northern Europe, nestled in the hollowed belly of the old Odenreich Valley, stood the dormant Königsberg Mine, once the largest coal-producing site in the region. But after a chilling incident in 1955, it became infamous for something far darker than its rich black veins. When, on a crisp autumn morning, 32 miners descended into the earth as they had done for years, but never returned. Their voices last heard through distant radio static, garbled, cries for help, then silence. Rescue teams were dispatched within hours, descending with lanterns, ropes, and oxygen tanks into the suffocating shafts, only to return one by one, pale and trembling, claiming the tunnels were changing, with walls that seemed to breathe, passageways that weren't there before, and shadows that did not belong to the living. And although multiple teams tried to map the mine's interior, the diagrams never matched, with corridors leading to sudden ends or looping back in impossible ways, leading authorities to seal the mine with iron gates and bolts, leaving behind a crude plaque bearing the names of the vanished, a grim monument to a disaster no one could explain. And as decades passed, whispers spread among locals. Talk of screams heard at night, of figures in helmets seen staring from the mountainside, unmoving, silent, and watching, as if trapped behind some invisible barrier. And the old mining village, once bustling, slowly emptied out, the younger generation fleeing superstition while the elders locked their doors tightly every October 15th, the date of the disappearance, believing that on its anniversary, the mine awakened. The mystery remained frozen in time until 2005, when a private team of forensic geologists and historical investigators, funded by an eccentric, reclusive millionaire obsessed with unsolved cold cases, received special permission to reopen Königsberg Mine using advanced technology, 3D mapping drones, subterranean scanners, and environmental sensors. But even with modern tools, their instruments failed repeatedly inside the mine. Batteries drained instantly, compasses spun erratically, and recording devices captured eerie frequencies. Low, inhuman murmurs and heavy breathing when no person stood, and despite warnings from local historians who recounted medieval legends about the mountain being cursed, housing an ancient prison of souls, the team pressed deeper until they found it, a hidden, unmapped chamber concealed behind what appeared to be a solid rock wall that crumbled like ash upon touch, revealing a colossal vertical shaft descending hundreds of meters with primitive wooden ladders barely intact. And along the walls were symbols, unfamiliar, circular carvings that glowed faintly when exposed to light, and a heavy stench of sulfur mixed with decay filled the air. But driven by curiosity, 2 team members descended, only to vanish without a trace after a single desperate scream echoed up the shaft. And it was then, as panic spread, that the remaining team made a horrific discovery, a sealed room constructed of rusted steel bars and iron bolts, like a giant cage embedded into the rock itself, filled wall to wall with human skulls, limbs, and full corpses preserved unnaturally, as though time had stopped, their faces frozen in terror, eyes wide open and unblinking, still moist, as if they had died mere minutes ago. And among them were the uniforms and tags of the 1955 miners, untouched by decay, including an audio recorder that, miraculously functional, played back a final chilling log in which one of the miners whispered there in the walls, "They hear our thoughts. We dug too deep. This place was never meant to be opened," followed by guttural roars and a cacophony of screaming. And as the investigators scrambled to flee, the walls began to shake, the lights blinked, and some swore they saw figures moving through the rock like phantoms embedded in stone, reaching out with open mouths and hollow eyes. And when only half the team made it out, the government immediately resealed the mine and issued a blanket ban on further excavation. The millionaire funder went missing weeks later, and the footage gathered was confiscated and classified under national security. But a single photo and the recovered log leaked online years later, sparking renewed interest in conspiracy theories that the mine had broken into a layer of ancient, non-human origin, a prison beneath the earth containing entities older than civilization itself, perhaps remnants of forgotten gods or extra-dimensional creatures sealed away by ancient peoples who had marked the mountain as forbidden long before the mine was built. And some archaeologists, reading the carvings, claimed the language had roots not in any known human dialect but resembled phonetic patterns theorized to belong to pre-human cultures referenced in ancient Sumerian tablets as the ones who dwell in the deep places, while others dismiss the events as mass hysteria, hallucinations, or elaborate fabrication, though they could never explain the DNA results that matched the 1955 miners, nor the corrosion-resistant metals used in the bars of the chamber, metals unknown to modern science. And now, in present day, the mine remains chained and buried under layers of concrete, guarded by a shadowy private firm, while locals still avoid the valley and children are warned never to wander too close. And on October nights, some still claim to hear knocking beneath their feet, rhythmic, like miners still at work, digging towards something, or away from something worse. And though the world moved on, those who've seen the leaked files know the truth. The Königsberg Mine didn't collapse. It was silenced, because what was found inside was not just a tragedy, it was a warning.